Stephanie and Greg selected the readings that we just heard from Sacred Scripture today for their wedding day. What a beautiful set of readings, too, to really be able to think about what they are all about, what this union of marriage is all about, what the sacrament of holy matrimony is all about. Little did I know when I was in the Holy Land last September, visiting with the pilgrimage with the Archdiocese. Little did I know when we got to visit the small town of Cana, when I got to pray in the little chapel there, very particularly for Greg and Stefanie that day, because I knew then that I would have the opportunity to witness their marriage as a priest. Little did I know that we would have this gospel reading. What a beautiful gift to think about being in a place where that actually happened, where there was a celebration of a wedding that Jesus witnessed that day. A celebration of a wedding that would have a little bit of trouble in it, but all of a sudden he would come to the rescue. Jesus celebrates this wedding with us today. He's very present with us in this congregation in the sacrament of marriage. It's a beautiful day to celebrate because one of the things that Jesus very particularly said, or that Mary said to Jesus as he began his public ministry, is do whatever he tells you. It was the beginning of the great invitation of Christ for each one of us in our lives. Do whatever he tells you. And mostly in Jesus' public ministry, he told us to love one another. He told us to love one another as he has loved us. He told us to give our lives. In fact, he says, there is no greater love than this than to lay down one's life for that of a friend. And Stephanie and Greg's relationship, as probably many of you know, began as a friendship. It's a beautiful way that two people come together to come to know and love one another first in the essence of friendship. In fact, it's called filial love. It's the love that Christ had for his apostles. It's a love that people have for friends. It's the love of a brother and sister. It's the love that really binds people in relationship in our lives, filial love. Now, I'm not sure if this came before or after the friendship or the filial love, but at some point, there was certainly the love of eros in their life. Now, eros is that love that kind of makes the heart go pitter-patter when one sees another. It's more than just a friendship. It's like Cupid is taking the arrow out and going, whoo, and Greg started to smile. He found a little bit of love of eros as he first saw Stefanie, and I'm sure vice versa. But that's kind of a love that needs more to it, because if we just settle with a simple love of eros, just an attraction to one another, then someday that might potentially wear off, and all of a sudden we're left kind of empty. And so God really teaches us, Christ teaches us about a deeper love, and that's called agape. It's the love of God, the very essence that God is love. And so when we invite God into the center of our lives, as have Stephanie and Greg on this day and for every day of their life, they will always have the truest essence of love. My favorite definition of love comes from St. Thomas Aquinas. He says that love is to will the good of another. To will the good of another in life. When I first got to know Stefanie and Greg, it was under a unique circumstance. Now, I had met Stefanie and some of her family when I was here at St. Francis in Clare as a summer seminarian for my last summer of seminary. And so I first got to work with Steph and I think one of your sisters and some of the family at Vacation Bible School. But I got to know Steph and Greg later as I was a new priest, and I was, by God's humor, assigned to work on IU's campus because I'm a Purdue graduate, and so I knew God has a sense of humor. Oh, by the way, we have a lot of cream today in the colors, but there is a little gold and black as well, just so that we know that God brings all together unity. When I had a chance to serve at IU early in my priesthood, one of the things that the bishop had asked me to do was to form a discernment group for men thinking of priesthood. And in doing so, I didn't really know many guys who were thinking of priesthood at IU. In fact, I didn't know anybody who was thinking about priesthood at IU. But the Archbishop gave me my marching orders, and so I began to think, how will we invite guys to this? Well, you got to really think realistically, so I thought, let me think about who I know at IU that guys would know and respond to. And I knew Stefanie. And so I thought, This is good. So what did I do? I emailed Stefanie and I said, Stefanie, do you know any guys who would make a good priest at IU? And of course, Stefanie emailed back very quickly. And she says, as a matter of fact, I do. I know 3 or 4 or 5. I can't remember exactly how many that you sent me emails to. And I said, would it be all right if I use your name? And said, hey, Stefanie Smith thought that you might be a good priest someday. And I'd like to invite you to this sermon group. And she said yes. And so I did that. Greg's name, however, was not on the list. At first, it was not on the list. But a day later, imagine this, I got the second email from Stefanie. And she said, you know, I've thought a lot about this, and I wanted to also add Greg's name to the list. I was deeply moved by that because they were dating at the time, and I knew that their relationship was very close. And I thought to myself, now that's someone who really desires the good of another, desires the greatest good of another, wills the greatest good of another, loves so much that they would be willing to, even though she loved him, would be willing, if God desired for Greg to be a priest, that she would be willing for that to happen. What a beautiful, deep sense of the love of God. And Greg has the same sense of love in his heart as well. Because I know that early on he said to me when I invited him, well, Father, I'm dating this girl. Is it okay that I would come to think about priesthood? And I said, you know, that's the best kind of guy to come to think about priesthood because a good priest is also one who would be a good father or who would be a good husband. And so, yes, it's great. And so he did. He came to about a year of the discernment group to discern the beautiful vocation